It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
I'm Brandon Jones, host of the Teen Mental Health Podcast, It Is Not Your Fault.
And I'm Lambert Fisher, family therapist and host of the Diversity Dude podcast.
We're not always going to be all right, and that's what makes us human. Often, when we're in pain or even thinking of suicide, we may not want others to know, but you'll feel better if you talk to someone. And you can do that safely and anonymously.
We can recognize when loved ones are not okay. They bottle up, they isolate, they're angry.
That's why we want you to know about 988, Minnesota Lifeline, for someone you're worried about or even yourself.
Anyone with an emotional or mental health related need can call, chat, or text 988 for free, confidential support. You can connect with 988 to discuss difficulty with money, relationships, anxiety, your job, concerns about drug or alcohol use, grief support, figuring out your identity, and more.
You don't even have to identify yourself or the person you're calling about, and no insurance is needed.
988 is available 24/7 year-round and can interpret in more than 200 languages.
So take a brave step. Call or text 988.
Or chat at 988lifeline.org. You don't have to do this alone.
Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice. Nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. Designed for more than just therapists, if you're a helping professional in any way, Diversity in Clinical Practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And it's available in paper and audiobook versions for your convenience. And if you haven't heard it yet, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it's been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself. And if you're encouraged by it, share it with a friend. And whether it be through my one-on-one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author and speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today I want to share with you an encouraging perspective on cross-cultural suicide awareness and prevention. If you weren't aware, September is National Suicide Prevention Month. And unlike the Cultural Awareness Months, where the focus is to bring attention to, appreciate, and even celebrate various cultural identities and experiences, Suicide Prevention Month is intended in part to bring awareness to the prevalence of suicide in this country and around the world, in hopes that this awareness would help encourage and empower us all to prevent the likelihood of the next suicide attempt around you. And though the mental health professional in me has an appreciation for this topic as a whole, through my desire to help everyone live their best and healthiest life, one might ask, what does this have to do with diversity? Well, since this Diversity Do podcast helps bring attention to issues that impact people across cultures, then let's explore a few considerations as to how relevant it just can be. One consideration is that suicide and self-harm is not limited to one culture group. In the United States alone, over 50,000 people die to suicide annually. Around the world, that number is over 700,000 people. And unfortunately, that only acknowledges those who lost their life to suicide. it doesn't include many more people who attempted suicide. Most relevant for today, the reasons for suicide are multifaceted, including being influenced by social, cultural, biological, physiological, psychological, and environmental factors that are present across the lifespan. This variety alone serves as an encouragement to not assume that suicide is just something that one cultural group struggles with. As a therapist, I know that the belief that suicide is culturally specific is often motivated by an effort to distance oneself from the realities of suicide, as if to say, oh, I don't have to worry about that. That's one of those things that other people struggle with. People like us don't do that type of thing. The only problem is, no matter what the percentages show, every cultural group has been impacted by suicide in one way or another. It's not one cultural group's problem, and it's thus not up to one cultural group to prevent it. Anyone you know could be stressed, overwhelmed, or discouraged enough to end their life, or at least consider ending their life as an attempted solution. Which brings us to a second consideration, and that is that what contributes to suicide and self harm varies within and across cultural groups. One of the most common misunderstandings believed by the family members and loved ones of those who end their life by suicide is a belief that the decision was primarily to send a message to others, often prompting the question, how could they do that to me? Now, on one hand, I do understand that this statement is not as self centered as many on the outside view it to be, because suicide does, in fact, have a widespread impact on those close and far alike. However, on the other hand, suicide attempts are more often the reluctant last resort decision of someone influenced by a long pattern of stress, overwhelm, and discouragement. Often, many things have been tried to change the situation beforehand, but for whatever reason, those efforts were unsuccessful, and the conclusion was drawn that ending their life would be somehow better than enduring more of the same. Again, what does this have to do with diversity? Well, the various stressors that we all have in life vary, sometimes from person to person, sometimes from cultural group to cultural group. Sometimes individuals and families from certain cultural groups have a higher likelihood of experiencing certain kinds of discouraging interactions, environmental, seen and unseen limits and barriers, limited or non existent support, or even acknowledgement of their pain and experience, and more. For some, the perceived likelihood their own life might be taken due to factors outside of their control might make taking their own life not seem that much different. While considering experiences like this may seem scary for some, I found that the more we can empathize with others, putting ourselves in their shoes as much as possible, reasonably possible, the more we'll be able to help them feel seen, heard, and understood, and less alone. And to help them explore right along with them the possible options for life improvement, which they might not yet have considered. Which leads us to a third consideration, and that is that everyone has the opportunity to reduce the likelihood of suicide and self harm around them. You don't have to be a therapist to help reduce the likelihood of suicide around you. You can join the suicide prevention effort by developing healthy relationships with those around you. Not everyone has to become your close personal friend for you to let those around you know that you see them, that you care, that they're there, and that if you notice that they don't seem okay, you'll reach out and try to help. Sometimes this help is just to listen and empathize, letting them know that they're not as alone as they may feel. Sometimes it actually will include helping them problem solve, such that when they say that they have to give up because they tried all three possible solutions, you can validate their effort and help them see that there are five additional options that they weren't able to see on their own, helping generate hope and possibly turn around the situation. My hope for you is that you will be able to accept that suicide can impact anyone, including you and someone you know and care about, instead of pretending it's not real and that it can impact people like you or even you, and hope that you're able to join the effort to make everyone around you feel seen, heard, and understood, while also reaching out to anyone you might be concerned about and might be overwhelmed or discouraged. If needed, refer them to the 988 hotline to connect them with a live person who's there just to offer that kind of support. And if needed, consider connecting them with a therapist who can offer even more ongoing support than that. It's not one person's problem or one cultural group's challenge. It's a challenge for us all, for those who look like you, as well as for those who don't. The more who join this challenge, the better life can truly be for us all. And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining and listening into today's Diversity Dude podcast. If you have any pressing diversity-related questions that you'd like me to address on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a shame-free and empowering guest speaker on this often sensitive and difficult topic, feel free to reach out to me directly at www.diversitymadesimple.com. And if you know of anyone else who could benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic of diversity, feel free to send them a link to this podcast so they can be encouraged as well, or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to visit TED.com and check out my talk on what to do when you offend someone. I hope it inspires you and that you share it with someone else so they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Mark your calendar for October 17th. That's Open House Day at Summit Academy OIC. And that's where your next career begins. In just 20 weeks, Summit Academy can prepare you to be a medical administrative assistant, IT specialist, carpenter, electrician, or financial services professional. These are good paying jobs in high demand in the Twin Cities. Summit Academy will not only prepare you for a job with advancement opportunities, they'll help you connect with employers and hiring managers. That's right, Summit Academy has a list of local employer partners ready and eager to hire Summit graduates. At the open house, you'll meet Summit instructors and staff. These incredible people will guide you through the entire process, from application to graduation. And if you're looking to earn your GED, Summit can help with that. Come to Summit Academy's open house, located at 235 Olson Memorial Highway in North Minneapolis. Find out more at saoic.org. And we'll see you October 17th from 3 to 5 p.m.
If you live in an older home, it may contain lead-based paint on walls, woodwork, and windows. Even more bad news, lead exposure can be dangerous to young children and impact their brain development. And now, the good news. Hennepin County will fix lead hazards in your home at no cost to you.
We were worried because of the paint in the windows in the bedroom. They were peeling and chipping, and we know that when paint peels and chips and it looks a certain way, that's possibly lead. We were worried for our children more so than anything.
Eligible homes can qualify for up to $15,000 in upgrades. You may even qualify for new energy-efficient windows. Don't worry, Hennepin County has a trusted list of pre-approved contractors. You won't even have to find companies with correct licenses or certifications.
I've just done a test and it's positive. So we know that this is lead-based paint, and then we know it's a hazard because it's creating dust every time this window moves and opens. And if you look in here, that's just full of lead paint chips.
You won't have to stay with your cousin while you're getting the lead out. Hennepin County even pays for you and your family to stay in a hotel while the work is underway. The last good news is how easy it is to apply. Just go to hennepin.us/lead control to get started.
I'm really happy with the program. We can go to bed knowing that our children are safe.
That's hennepin.us/lead control. Tell your friends about it.
I'm Brandon Jones, host of the Teen Mental Health podcast, It Is Not Your Fault.
And I'm Lambert Fisher, family therapist and host of the Diversity Dude podcast.
We're not always going to be all right, and that's what makes us human. Often, when we're in pain or even thinking of suicide, we may not want others to know, but you'll feel better if you talk to someone, and you can do that safely and anonymously.
We can recognize when loved ones are not okay. They bottle up, they isolate, they're angry.
That's why we want you to know about 988 Minnesota Lifeline for someone you're worried about or even yourself.
Anyone with an emotional or mental health related need can call, chat, or text 988 for free, confidential support. You can connect with 988 to discuss difficulty with money, relationships, anxiety, your job, concerns about drug or alcohol use, grief support, figuring out your identity, and more.
You don't even have to identify yourself or the person you're calling about, and no insurance is needed.
988 is available 24/7 year-round and can interpret in more than 200 languages.
So take a brave step. Call or text 988.
Or chat at 988lifeline.org. You don't have to do this alone.
Are you the parent or guardian of an adult with autism? If your loved one has no restrictions through court order, then they are eligible to vote. And you can assist them in many ways. Some citizens with autism don't like unfamiliar places and activities. These voters might prefer to cast their ballot at an early voting center. Leading up to Election Day, these early voting centers are less busy and less likely to require waiting. Early voting centers are open all over Minnesota, and you can vote there right now. Or you can request an absentee ballot to vote by mail. That's right. Eligible voters can cast their ballots without ever leaving home. On Election Day, curbside voting is another option to make voting easy and comfortable. Election judges will bring a ballot directly to the vehicle with a person with a disability. Make a plan to support and assist your loved one with autism this election season, so they can participate and exercise their precious right to vote. You can find out more at mnvotes.gov. That's mnvotes.gov.